Okay, let's get started. Today is lesson 5 and 6 of closings. My name's Jim McCloskey, and let's go into your closing part of your book, your white book. You know where that is by now, I'm sure. Last day of closings, now or never, guys. Ask questions. Let's make it happen, okay? You know, you're thinking, oh, it's been so hard. Think about where you were about 3 or 4 years ago when we started this. Years ago. Yeah, 3 or 4 days ago when we started this. Seems like years, I guess.
No.
But yeah, and you knew nothing about this stuff. Not that remember the first closing we did? You guys knew nothing. Now see where you are. You're getting this. You know this a lot better than you think you do. And you're going to be fine. And everybody knows Julie.
Hi, everybody. Sorry, we have a copier issue we're trying to figure out.
Oh, not a copier now. First the phones weren't working, then the internet
Now
was
the
down.
copier. So, what page are we in?
We're going to do closing 7.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay, cool. And hopefully everybody did test number 3 over the weekend. Let's go to closing number 7 and go to the box. What can I answer for you? Any questions? Let's break this down to its lowest denominator. I always like doing that. Remember, if it's through the day of closing, the seller owns the day of closing, we have one on the left. When it's through the day of closing, the buyer owns the day of closing, add it to the right. Breaking it down, lowest denominator. To buyer right. To buyer right. When it's to, the buyer owns it. Morning, and we add a day when we're on the right-hand side. Through seller left. When it's through the day of closing, the seller owns it, and we add a day when we're on the left-hand side. To buyer right, through seller left. Does that help any? Remember, when we're on the right, when it's to the day of closing, we're on the right-hand side, we never add a day on the left. When it's to the day of closing, we never add a day on the left. When it's through the day of closing, we never add a day when we're on the right. Never add a day when we're on the right. To, we never add one on the left. Through, we never add one on the right. To, buyer right. Through, seller left.
But buyer closing.
The buyer always has the day of closing in Colorado. When it's to the day of closing, and on the state exam, they may or may not tell you who owns the day of closing, and they may or may not tell you if it's a calendar year or not. On the Colorado portion, on the national portion, they have to tell us who owns the day of closing. Everybody knows what I mean by who owns the day of closing, who is responsible for those fees for the day of closing. And guys, if you're off one lousy day, they're going to have that answer there, both sides of it. So they're cruel people. Actually, when I took the exam a week ago Friday, I think virtually every proration but one are ones that I did for the state. So I guess I'm the SOB who did that anyway. But again, you guys, the thing is, you will get this down. You will get it down. I hope I get this down. No, you will get it down. And don't you even think about taking that state exam until you get these prorations down. When we're done today, don't come up to me and say, will you sit down and show me? I've already done that 20 times. Sit down with somebody in class. Those of you on the recording, play back. Lesson number 1's the biggie. That's where I start with nothing and build it up. That first closing we did, we spent an hour and a half on it. Or you know how long we're going to take on this one? We're doing right now? About half an hour. You know, we're not racing or anything, but speed reflects proficiency. First one we did an hour and a half. The last one here, we're going to do in 30 minutes. That says a lot. It says a lot about what you guys know. You know this better than you think you do. So, with that in mind, let's go to the box of closing number 7. Closing number 7. It says a loan amount. What do we do with that? The only question on the state exam, it talks about lines.
Line 3.
Line 3,
Credit buyer.
very good. Credit buyer, line 3, $118,750. $118,750. Anybody have any stories or anything about real estate things that you guys are working on? Anything exciting going on out there? Really? I have a good friend of mine. He was so excited. He got approved for a $200,000 loan on a property. I mean, that's the most he can qualify for. He didn't have a whole lot of down payment. $200,000. I said, why even bother? I said, I can work with you. We can find a condominium. We can find a townhome. I've got some other options too. He said, oh, no, I want a resale home. I said, I'm not even going to work with you. 2 years ago, last time I did this, when we were looking for a buyer, the inventory is so rich, so scarce out there. There's ways to do it if you'll work with me on it. But 2 years ago, I wrote 12 contracts for this lady on 12 different homes before I just finally gave up. I don't need practice writing contracts. And that's what I was doing, because there's just nothing out there at $200,000. We found 4 homes. By the time you looked at them, there'd been 20 contracts on them. That $200,000 house probably sold for $240,000. What's the great equalizer on that? The appraisal. The appraisal. So, we've never seen a market like this in Colorado or virtually anywhere else, where every offer, you're getting, everyone that's on the sale, you get an offer higher than that.
Call from 92.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
Closing 7.
We still have copier issues.
Well, I'd say it's been that copier and,
Is it just one of those weeks?
oh, wait.
Okay. Oh.
And, that could have
Keep
been
going.
ugly. That could have been ugly. Okay, then we have the payoff of the existing loan. Everybody understands what this is. What is this payoff?
The previous loan,
Tell me more about it. Previous loan,
Seller,
the seller,
the balance or whatever.
this is how much the seller still owes on the house, right? So who are we going to charge for this? Who's responsible for this? The seller. Yeah, so debit seller on line 5. You okay, Lauren? On everything? Okay. So on line 5, we're going to debit seller for the payoff. Any questions on that payoff? You're going to get these questions at a closing, guys. You're going to get all of your closing documents 3 days before closing, and people will be calling you up saying, what does this mean? What does that mean? That quick, you got to know it. And you should know it that quick by now. By now, you should know it that quick. By the time you pass the state exam, you're going to know it very well. So line 5, debit seller, $86,889.13. Loan origination fee on line 27. What is this all about? What do you mean loan origination fee?
To originate the new loan.
Originate, I don't know what that
Lender
means.
charges to make a new loan.
Very good. That's what the lender's fee is to make this loan, is a loan origination fee. Is it typically 1%? You can't say that. That's price fixing. Because some banks don't charge anything. Remember, we talked about NACA. How NACA doesn't charge anything as far as points or down payment or closing costs. So it's typical. Nothing's typical. It's all negotiable. It's all negotiable. I can say all that again. Now, the loan origination fee, if they say it's 1 point, it's going to be 1% of the sales price. Nobody's going to correct me?
It's the loan price.
1% of the loan, not the sales price, guys. It's all about the money when it comes to points. It's all about the money. We have loan origination fees, the cost of the lenders charging to make the loan happen. And what is it? Tell me what you know. Tell me, I love it when I'm recording and that happens. Anyway.
Holy moly.
I tell you, pretty wild. Okay, discount points. What the heck's a discount point? Help me out. The discount fee, the discount point is 1% of the loan amount.
And that increases your interest rate by what?
180.
No. Say it backwards, Austin. It decreases it. It decreases your interest rate. It's a discount point.
You're paying, you said increase.
Yeah, what does it increase, Austin? It increases the lender's yield the same amount as the discount. Does that make sense? Yeah. So again, it drops the interest rate, and we in class here it drops it 1/8%. In real life, it'll change several times during the day. But for the state exam, it drops it 1/8%. It costs 1% of the sales price, loan amount, not sales price, 1% of the loan amount. And it drops the interest rate 1/8%. Here, in real life, it'll change daily. Okay, last week, my sister's vice president of a bank, and we were talking together last week, and she goes, yeah, she said, I'm so concerned about these interest rates. We're going to go up like crazy, and it's going to start, and we're going to go back into recession again. I said, Judy, I said, you're a banker. I said, what makes you think interest rates are going up? What are interest rates on houses right now? 3.5%. The return on Treasury notes right now, interest rates are based on the 10-year Treasury note. But everything's artificial. Everything's artificial now. Right now, the return on Treasury notes is the lowest it's been in 10 years. Interest rates on housing are the lowest they've ever been. He said, these interest rates are going up. Well, they're going up because the discount rate's going up on the Federal Reserve and what they charge to loan money to other banks. It has nothing to do with us. When they say, oh yeah, the Fed's raising their interest 3 times this year. That has nothing to do with mortgage rates, guys. Nothing to do with mortgage rates. That's money they play with each other. And the people on the news are going to be saying, oh yeah, they raised it 0.5%. Look for these interest rates on houses to go up. It's not going to happen. That doesn't reflect us and what we're paying for money. And please, when you're out in the real world, if you're talking to somebody like my sister who doesn't understand that, and most bankers don't, most mortgage people don't know how to explain this. Oh, the Fed. Who's the Fed? Those of you who've taken financing. I'm looking at Hardy here. Who's the Fed?
A private organization.
What do I mean by the Fed? The Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve is a private organization. They print our money, they hold our money, they control our interest rates, and they're a private organization. They're not part of the government. Probably the most interesting day of the whole course, those of you who've taken it, was the day we talked about financing. We go all the way back to 1906 and bring it all the way up to the present and then forecast it. What do you think? Probably the most interesting day of the course, those of you who've had it?
Yes.
Pretty cool stuff. Very cool stuff. You're going to learn stuff that very few people know. Very few people. Most bankers have no clue about things we'll be talking about that day. Same with mortgage brokers. So as I'm going through this, guys, that's why I'm taking time on almost every line here to make sure that you're correctly identifying what's actually happening here. So let's keep going. We have the loan amount. We got that. And then we have the payoff. We got that. The loan origination fee. Notice that it's 1% of the loan amount in this case.
Call from 303.
Drives me nuts, so. Okay, guys, sorry about that on the tape there, guys. Anyway. Okay, so we have our loan origination fee. That's how much the lender charges to make the loan happen. It might be 0, might be 1, might be 2, might be 5. There's no way of telling. Very seldom will it be that much. But whatever the market will take. Somebody with very poor credit, they're going to hit you up front. They want you to have interest in the deal, skin in the game.
That's a debit to the buyer.
Pardon me now?
That's a debit to the buyer.
This one is a debit to the buyer. Anybody can pay this. Anybody can pay any of these. Everything in our industry is negotiable except for one thing. No. Attorney's fees, I can pay for your attorney's fees if I'm what? Stupid. Right? No, but there is one thing that's not negotiable. Those of you who had contracts last week, the cost of mediation. Cost of mediation, you split it 50-50. And the guaranteed question on the state exam, guys, what's the one thing in our industry that's not negotiable? The cost of mediation. You split it 50-50. Then we have the interest on the new loan. This is the prepaid interest. The prepaid interest for the month of closing. They gave us this. It's on line 29. 29. This is the interest from today, the closing date, till the end of the month. This is the only time interest is paid in advance. Every other time interest is paid
In arrears.
in arrears. It's paid after it's due. Okay. Then, recording fees, the deed. How many warranty deeds are there? 2. What are they?
Special and general.
Perfect. What is a special warranty deed? How many promises does it have? 2. And what are they? I did receive a deed, and I've done nothing to damage that deed since I got the property. That's a special warranty deed. What's the other type of deed? General. Should we go over 5 of those? Let's spend a quick minute and talk about the 5 promises in a general warranty deed. The first one is
Possession.
possession. And they're going to say on the state exam the word season. If you see that in our industry, it applies to general warranty deeds. It means possession. S-I-E-S-E-N, S-E-I-Z-E-N. I've seen it spelled 10 different ways. Just remember how to say it. Season. Covenant of season means possession. It means what I'm transferring to you, I have the right to transfer. Covenant of season, which means possession. The second what's that? No, the second one is a quiet enjoyment. We're going to keep, quiet enjoyment, I always keep third, because we talk about 3 different types of quiet enjoyments. The second one is covenant against encumbrances. Encumbrances. You know my next question. What's an encumbrance? Anything that limits our use, title, interest, or value. That's an example, an encroachment example of an encumbrance. That's not the definition of an encumbrance. That's one of the encumbrances that limit our use as an encroachment. The neighbor's fence is 2 feet over on our side, something like that. So, covenant against encumbrances, except those mentioned in the title or the deed. The third one is quiet enjoyment. What does that mean in a general warranty deed? Protection from third party. Help me out more, Kathy.
The interest of the third party.
Yeah, protection from anybody who says they have an ownership interest other than what I say I'm giving you. Quiet enjoyment. And I will protect this right, your right, with the 4th covenant of further assurance. I'll provide whatever documents I have to. I'll even go to court. And the last one's the biggie. warranty forever. Yeah, warranty forever. Warrants it forever in the past, which subsequently warrants it forever in the future. Those are the 5 covenants in a general warranty deed. We have 2 covenants in a special warranty deed.
What was number 4? What was number 4?
4 is further assurance, not insurance, assurance with an A. A-S-S-U-R-A-N-C-E. Further assurance. Morning. How we doing, guys? What is that type of deed where I only have implied warranties? I only have implied warranties. Remember, it's a bunch of BS. Bargain and sale deeds. Bargain and sale deeds have only implied warranties. And what type of deed has no warranties, implied or otherwise? Implied or otherwise. Quit claim deed. Remember, quit claim deed is spelled with a T, not a CK. Okay. Then, the deed of trust. Well, that's on line 11 for the warranty deed. $6, debit buyer, single entry, on line 11. Line 11, $6. Record the deed.
Debit buyer.
Debit buyer. On line 12, it's recording the deed of trust. Deed of trust, $26 on line 12, debit buyer. Real quick, what's the difference between a deed and a deed of trust?
Deed of trust can be transferred to the mortgage company can sell it. It makes it easier for the mortgage company to sell the transfer the deed.
No, I think you're confusing that with what? The title insurance for the lender.
The deed transfers the property, the deed of trust is insurance for the loan.
That's very, very close, what Austin just said. Our deed is our instrument of transfer. The deed of trust is the security for our loan. The deed of trust is the property itself. And we give it essentially to the lender so they can put a lien on our property as security for the money they just lent us. A deed of trust and a deed, 2 completely different issues. I can say that again real easy. Who's confused? A deed is an instrument of transfer. That's our piece of paper. I have a deed. Then we have a deed of trust, which is our security for our promissory note. That's the first thing we sign is a promissory note. That's the money. The deed of trust is not the money, it's the property. Just like in other states, they have a mortgage. A mortgage is not the money. The mortgage is the property. Nobody has a mortgage. Nobody. Because you give the mortgage to the lender as security for the debt. Great trivia question to talk to people when you're talking to them in groups. You're at a meeting, you're having dinner with somebody. What a great thing to bring up. That mortgages aren't the money, they're the property, and nobody has a mortgage. Because that property is with the lender as security for the promissory note. The promissory note is the money. That's the evidence of the debt. The deed of trust or mortgage is the security for that money. That helped. Does that help any? What about which part of that can I say again? Everybody feel good about that? Can you say it that well? Remember, when you're driving, don't turn that radio on. When you're driving, you're talking to yourself. What are the different types of deeds? What's the difference between a deed and a deed of trust? A promissory note. Remember, you're talking to yourself. And at night, when you wake up, you get your true-false questions out to start working on them. Yeah, Chris?
So the deed's instrument of transfer, can you say the phrase for deed of trust again?
The deed is the instrument of transfer, is a piece of paper that transfers the property. The deed of trust is the security for the promissory note, which is the money. First thing we sign at a closing, one of the first things we sign is the promissory note. If we don't sign that promissory note, that closing comes to a screeching halt.
Thank you.
That makes sense? And guys, get to know this well. You don't even think about it. You just know exactly what these things are. That well. You're going to stand out above any other brokers out there, guys. Release. Who pays for the release? Seller, the S sound on line 13. The release. Only the seller or only the grantor signs the release. Why'd I correct myself? Why'd I say either the seller or the grantor? Isn't the grantor always the seller? No. What if I'm giving it away? Whether I'm giving it away or selling it, I'm always the grantor. So the grantor signs the release. In this case, the seller, it is a seller, but it may not be. Might be a gift. Title policy, the owner's policy on line 7. Seller's policy, owner's policy, line 7, single entry, 540 debit seller. 540 debit seller. For the owner's policy, this warrants the property for anything that happened in the past to the title. Any questions on title policies? You're sitting at a closing, somebody says, why are there two policies? Why are there two title policies? Title insurance policies. We got one, the owner's policy, which ensures marketability. Then with the next line, mortgagee's policy, $85 on line 7, debit buyer. What the heck? Why are we getting ripped off here? We getting ripped off? We have two different title policies for the owner and who the heck is mortgagee?
That's the lender.
The lender, mortgagee, the money. Very good. Mortgagee, the money. And so the lender is going ahead and paying this big one. That's to ensure that my property is marketable. So why is this lender, why is he ripping us off for another title policy?
Because he's going to sell it to secondary market, and he has to have...
Perfect. He's going to sell it to the secondary market. Who's the secondary market?
Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac.
Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae, and Farmer Mac. There's 4 of them. They're going to sell to that secondary market. They're going to sell the note to the secondary market. And the secondary market will not buy it unless it's in first position. That's why the lender needs this title policy. Everybody cool? Any questions on that? Documentary fee. There we go again, the old doc fee. $12.50. Line 15. What'd this home sell for? Very good, $125,000. 10,000 times that, right? And that again goes on line 15. Debit buyer. We have the tax reserve, and actually, it's actually in real life, it's only going to be 3 months. Who can tell me why?
Because there's a law
Oh, yeah.
that
They're
states...
not allowed to take tax investment.
Keep helping each other here.
What he said.
Is that what he said?
Past 3 months, they can actually have the entire amount that they're taking out returned to the buyer.
Okay, let's talk about this. Remember, every year on May 20th, any amount in the tax reserve over 3/12, over 3 months worth, has to be returned to the borrower before May 30th. One more time. Anything in that escrow account, tax escrow account, beyond 3 months has to be returned to the borrower by May 30th. Guys, you might see a question on the state exam about that, but that is a very interesting thing to know. There's no brokers out there who know this, guys. You do. Show off when you're out there. That's what they're going to say, what is this? What is this tax reserve? We have an insurance reserve. We have a home association reserve. We have a PMI reserve. What the heck is all these, are these all?
Was it May 30th or 31st?
May 30th, yeah. By May 20th, has to be returned by May 30th, not May 31st. Pardon me? To the buyer, to the borrower, to the borrower. Seller's long gone. Seller's long gone.
They're spending their happy little check.
That's right.
They're spending their happy little check.
There's a happy little check, I like that.
They're in Aruba.
Aruba, yeah. Then we have the hazard insurance reserve, 6 months. That's also only going to be 3 months. There's no law for that, but they kind of keep everything the same. Hazard reserve on line 24. Did you get the tax reserve on line 19? Tax reserve on line 19, that's for 5 months, 3/16/18, debit buyer. Hazard insurance, line 24, same thing, debit buyer 294, single entry. Any questions on either of those? We have the hazard insurance, now that's the hazard insurance for a whole year. Okay, we have hazard insurance for a whole year, and then they're going to have you put down a reserve besides that. It's going to be 3 months, not 6 months, but it's going to be on line 24 for the hazard insurance reserves. The actual hazard insurance policy is on line 23. Tax certificate, line 16. $20, debit buyer. What does the tax certificate do? It shows the,
Status of the taxes.
it shows, starts with a C.
Condition of the
Condition of the taxes, guys, shows the condition. Don't miss that on the state exam. Don't miss that one, guys. The tax certificate shows the condition of the taxes. And that goes on line 16 for the tax certificate, debit buyer $20. Then we have, what the heck is PMI? What's that all about?
Private mortgage insurance.
Private mortgage insurance. What kind of loan do we have if we have PMI? Conventional loan, and why do we have PMI?
Say less than 20%.
Put down less than 20. That's how well you should know all this stuff. Bam, 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 bam. Very good. PMI, private mortgage insurance, that means we have a conventional loan. What if we have an FHA loan? Do we have PMI?
Yeah,
MIP, mortgage insurance premium. Same letters, just to screw us up, right? Private mortgage insurance premium.
That's on mine.
Again, now PMI is going to be on line, write it in line 39. Just write it in. PMI on line 39 for $593.75. And that's, again, that's the PMI debit buyer, single entry. Survey on line 30, $80. What's a typical survey run? If we're not getting a survey, we get what?
ILC.
Improvement location certificates. They run about $200 is what they run. That's why the whole survey is going to run you thousands. We get an improvement location certificate because we suspect an encroachment. We don't order it, the lender orders it, or the title person orders it. You'll go your whole career and never order a survey, but you might. You're walking around your neighbor's, your property, your listing, and you look down a fence line, and it looks like their fence is 2 feet over, or vice versa, or whatever. You'll order an ILC to get that squared away. What else does ILC stand for? Installment land contract. What's some other words for installment land contracts? Installment land contracts.
Both mean the exact same.
Installment contract?
No, they don't mean the same thing. They're two completely different things. An installment land contract is an owner will carry, contract for deed, land contract, installment land contract. All those mean the same thing. The seller is carrying back the loan. Where an improvement location certificate is a certificate showing us the location of the improvements. Same letters. And I did last year have a question about installment land contract, right in conjunction with an improvement location certificate. It was really tricky.
I think I had one on my test.
Yeah, it's
I
Julie
did.
Julie took the test about 3 weeks ago. I took mine a week ago Friday. So I took the cam test on Friday.
Well, you wrote down the questions.
And I tell you what, a tough test. You know,
Pass it though?
oh yeah. Well, you see, the thing is, on the cam class, you have to get 80% on that sucker,
Oh,
and it's a tough one. But Hardy took the.
no, I
That's
haven't
the.
taken it yet. I'm taking the class.
That's I mean, but you're taking the community association manager. What's that? The CAM class, guys, let's spend a couple minutes on this. This is important. This is the Community Association Manager. You're actually the manager of homeowners associations, and you have to have a license to do this. This license just came about last year. It's a brand new license, and it's wide open. There's a wonderful extra income stream for you. It might be your whole-time job. Right now, there's over 87 homeowners associations in Colorado. 8,700. I said 87. 8,700. A little bit of
It's
difference.
87, we don't have
Yeah.
anybody in class.
There's 8,700 homeowners associations in Colorado. Less than 400 people have this license. It's wide open, guys, and we give you $100 off for this class if you're a student. We do it on 3 Saturdays. We're not going to have one during July. The first one we're going to have is the first Saturday in August. So by then, you're going to be long done with this course, no matter where you're at. So please plan on taking that. I think it's $460, if I'm not mistaken. That's your books and everything. It's normally $560. And you're going to be real pleased. You got a lot of these when you become a property manager. You know, you have a nice salary. A lot of times you get a free place to live. So anyway, it's something you definitely want to come and talk to me about, or Lauren. You guys know Lauren. He's the one who teaches it.
Just 3 Saturdays?
3 Saturdays, bam, bam, bam.
8:30 to 3.
8:30?
Yeah, you know, Lauren and I were talking about doing it over 4 Saturdays.
Yeah.
Doing it 6 hours each day. It's a little bit more. I said, Lauren, why don't we do Friday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday?
That's actually
So-
not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think
because
we're
they're
kind
there anyway.
Yeah, we're kind of thinking about that. So we need your input, Hardy, and yours on that too.
I think it's hard with just in 3 days trying to cram all that in.
Well, because I had this class now,
Right.
it kind of helped so I could go fast. So, but yeah, if you're like 3 years away from this class, you know, it would be better to go a little slower. But all 3 of us in there had recently taken this class.
Yeah, and that course helps you with this class. And this class helps you with that course. It's not like, oh, I'm taking this class, I'm overwhelmed. Oh, no, they go together very, very well. It makes this class easier. It makes taking the state exam easier on both sides. So, anyway, that's the Community Association Manager.
Do you do that down at PSI as well?
Yes, that's right, the same place you take your exam for your real estate exam too. So, we have the survey, then we have the flood certificate. Put that between line 21 and 22 and just write it in. A flood cert is what that's called. A flood cert. And $20. It used to be that we had our flood maps. Now they have companies you can call and get a flood cert. And why do we need this? We need to know if this property's in a floodplain or not. And what it used to be, I used to have a bureau. Okay. I used to have a bureau in my office. Literally, might have been thousands, but definitely hundreds of flood maps. And when I did an appraisal, I used to have to go into that bureau, all my appraisers did, and find that one flood map. And that flood map was bigger than my desk up here, and you had to find that home on that flood map to make sure it wasn't in a floodplain. And if you missed one floodplain, you were permanently barred from the FHA fee panel of appraisers. That's how tough it was. Now we don't have that problem nearly as much because they have these flood cert companies for $6. They'll tell you whether it's in a floodplain or not. The problem with floodplains is that there's some areas where if you lose your house because of a flood, you can't rebuild it. And if you can't rebuild it, you can't get a loan. You can't get your initial loan on it. All those floods we had up in Longmont and Lafayette, those areas up in there, back in
Lyons.
2019 in Lyons. Those
I was
areas.
up there then.
Oh, yeah. You were?
Oh, I had a lake in my backyard. It was bad.
Oh, really? You were
Yeah,
living up there?
Oh, yeah, it hit me.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Oh,
that.
gosh, yeah, the St. Vrain River went right over the, washed out our highway.
Oh, man, it was something.
Yeah,
What
it
a
was
deal.
crazy.
And of course, most of those people up there didn't have flood insurance. At least you did probably in St. Vrain.
Yeah, I live in St. I don't have to have flood insurance where I'm at.
Not now, but back then you had flood
Oh, yeah.
insurance on you
Yeah.
and living on the St. Vrain River. But all these people living in Longmont, they didn't have flood insurance because it was a 100-year floodplain. And 100 years ago, nobody lived there. So nobody knew it was a floodplain.
We
And
actually
so-
had a ditch that ran right through the town, and it, basically everyone's backyard fell into it, right in the middle of Longmont.
No kidding.
Yep.
Wow.
It was just an irrigation ditch, and it filled up
What
so
happened to
bad.
them if they didn't have insurance?
They lost their home.
They lost their home, they were,
Lost it.
did they still have to pay the original mortgage?
Oh, well, yeah. Boy, they had to work that out. Oh, yeah. Good. And you did not have flood insurance.
A lot
Did
of those
not have
places
flood
are not
insurance.
rebuilt up there, especially up in Lyons, along the river. There's a
But
time
they
that
still
they're just
start
sitting
paying the
there.
mortgage on the original loan?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you have to pay the original mortgage. You have to work out with a mortgage company and say, listen, what can we do to make this? Because the lenders are hurting too,
Yeah.
because you didn't have insurance to cover it.
There are tons of houses up there still that just have mud in them. I mean, you see mud through the house. It's crazy,
Yeah.
crazy.
So that's one thing about flood cert. So you want to make sure that it's not on a floodplain. Do you want to call and get a flood cert in every property? Not necessarily. You can't look at a property typically until if it's in a floodplain. But the lender's going to order one, and so is the title policy. So you're probably going to be safe.
I have one right down the road, guys. Independence. The corner of the property was in a floodplain, and they didn't put flood insurance on it. Off Independence, right here in Wheatridge.
Oh, you see a lot of floodplains
Yeah.
right in the city here. Oh, heck yes, you
Crazy.
do.
And that was back when flood insurance was really expensive.
Now it's subsidized by FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Association.
So, have you heard about the drainage that they're trying to put through the golf course there on 23rd in Colorado? They're
Oh,
trying to
yes.
take that golf course out.
Take that golf course
Will
at
that
23rd in
change?
Colorado.
Will that change kind of the floodplain area?
Will that change it? Definitely will. Floodplains change. They put a dam in over here. All of a sudden, this area that wasn't a floodplain isn't anymore, and this area is.
Because what they try to sell it is they're trying to help route the water if we do have a flood.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm thinking, okay.
Back in the 60s, in 67 was the last time it happened, but the Platte River and Cherry Creek flooded virtually every 2 or 3 years. And they put in Cherry Creek Reservoir and Chatfield, and it has not been an issue since then. Both those reservoirs work very well. But we used to have floods consistently in Denver. So,
They're crazy. Flooding causes a lot of damage.
it sure does. Okay, so anyway, so flood cert. And then how about a lender's tax service fee? This is a rip-off fee. It's a garbage fee is what it is. And that put that on line 8. Lender tax service, you scratch out that stuff about an abstract, debit buyer $75. Then, net loan proceeds. Net loan proceeds on line 38, just write it in, net loan proceeds. That's a debit broker, good. Okay, now we go back to our fact sheet on page 167.
Can I ask a
And-
question about the box?
My buddy Doug here, then we take a break. What's that?
About the box?
The box.
Okay, so everything that's in the box, how can you classify those things? Because when I was taking the test, it's like, I don't necessarily remember that it was in the box. It was talking about single entry.
Yeah, guys, it's not up to us to see if it's a single entry or not.
Right.
And remember what your actually sheet's going to look like? It's not going to be a 6-column worksheet.
Right.
It's just going to be your debit and credit column. The main thing you need to know is that the debits are actual debits and the credits are actual credits. It's not overwhelming. It's not like this 6-column worksheet that is overwhelming. let's talk about this worksheet. And the state exam, we used to have to fill out one of these miserable things on the state exam. Everybody hated it. Even the instructors hated it. And I was having lunch one time with the head of the education department for the real estate commission. He was a buddy of mine. And we're sitting there talking about this. And I said, you know what the worst part of that state exam is that stupid settlement sheet that we had to fill. And he said, I know. I hate it. Everybody hates it. I said, why don't we do this? At that point, there were 45 questions on the Colorado portion of the exam. I said, let's expand those questions to maybe 70, 75, because there's 80 questions on the national portion. Why don't we make 80 questions on Colorado too? And instead of 45 questions, we'll have 80, and we'll just have questions about closings. And it was a pretty good lunch. We were talking about it, and I noticed he was taking notes, and I was kind of taking notes too. Then after lunch, I kind of forgot about it, to be honest with you. And about a month and a half later, all of the schools get a memo stating that from now on, we don't have to fill out one of these miserable closing sheets at the actual test, but they're going to have, instead of 45 questions, they're going to have 74 questions. I guess they couldn't do more than 30. They couldn't do 30, so 74 questions. So we have 45 to 74. They go, well, thanks, Jim. All that means is you can miss more and still pass. Glass is half full. Okay, so don't freak out. Again, but you're going to have questions. Instead of having to fill out that miserable closing statement, guys, believe me, you did not want to do that if you could help it. Not yet?
Not yet.
I have a buddy of mine coming here in just a few minutes, so we'll take a break. Okay, guys, let's go to the fact sheet. So we don't have to fill out one of these miserable closing statements again. Guys, when you walk out of here today, you'll never fill out one of these again the rest of your career.
Thank the Lord.
And don't go back and study these necessarily. Go over those 3 20-question quizzes. That's how they are exactly on the state exam. They're going to have a choice of 4. So if you have those 60 questions down, those 3 20-question quizzes, you're gold for that state exam. We're going to go over just a little bit here. Yes. Okay.
Do it over, yeah.
Yeah, not yet. Yeah, we did the first 2. We're doing the test 3 in just a little bit here. Let's go to that 4th paragraph, guys. 167, at least my page 167. 4th paragraph. On July 1st, the seller lists a property for $126,900. On July 27th, an offer of $125,000 is accepted.
Oh, he's here now.
Oh, is that done?
Just showed up, I
Oh, the
guess.
closing is set for August 30th. The broker is holding $3,000 in earnest money deposit, and a 6% commission rate is agreed. Why don't you guys fill out that first paragraph where it goes, and let's go ahead and take about a 15-minute break, and I'll see you in a little bit here.